going on?
Nothing, man.
New year, new us.
New year, new us.
How about that? Hope everyone had a good holiday. Hope you ate a lot. Remember from Christo's our last episode, I hope you ate at the people's houses.
You know, it's funny. You then sent me a messed up picture.
I did.
About somebody not taking the label out of the bottom of their disposable hotel pan. And
Correct.
Then I'm the problem.
Yeah. Well, I just thought you would appreciate that during the holiday season.
I also received a lot of text messages and emails about how, yeah, I was correct. And people commented on the clip that we posted. And they're like, yeah, people are gross.
But, yeah. I mean, but I will say that I think a majority of the people that were commenting know you.
They do. They were all Greek.
So I expected that. But the mass population did not comment. So we don't really know what people feel.
No, people told me, like, even like at work and everything, people are like, yeah, dude, like I get what you're saying.
Sure,
and I had a friend actually go to a work potluck, I think a few days ago.
Okay.
Well, this is,
Yeah.
And she told me, she was like the theme was also like some Tex-Mex thing. And I was like, dude, that's just asking for the runs. That's just asking to, like, somebody's 7-layer dip that's probably lukewarm.
Yeah.
Sitting there.
Yeah.
And somebody's disgusting carnitas, okay, in a crock pot.
Yeah.
Okay, that they brought from home. That just hung out at 70 degrees. Just building building up that bacteria.
That's true. Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do?
Not do potlucks is what I'm not gonna do.
Maybe there's a New Year's resolution for you.
It's my mantra.
Your life resolution.
Okay.
Never to eat at a
It's my
potluck.
mantra.
Yeah, I can see that. But I did want to talk about, since it is the new year, start off 2025, talking about some New Year's resolutions that we can adapt, that hospitality people can adapt. We just kind of really wing it for this one.
Let's go. I barely got any notes.
Perfect.
So
starting off, do you have any New Year's resolutions?
Are
you one of those people that do New Year's resolutions?
I generally don't.
Okay. Well, that's the end of the episode, guys. It's been great.
I generally don't really do New Year's resolutions, but you always reflect on the year.
Sure.
You always try to be like, okay, I think I want to do this better.
Yeah.
Whether it's in your personal life or in work. I never really set goals, and it's not anything that I'm against. I don't judge anybody for setting a goal for themselves.
Sure,
I think it's great. I just personally am not a big New Year's resolution kind of guy.
Got it. Well, I do have one for you that you should embrace.
Okay.
Work-life balance.
All right. Well, once again, the end of this podcast.
Yeah. I think that, it's really hard in this industry.
Yeah. You just keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people tend to forget that the ultimate sacrifice is not us, but it's the people that are in our lives. Mm-hmm. Specifically if they're never been or are not currently in the industry. I was talking to my friends from the show, and we have this constant thread that we all respond to, and it's talking about how crazy life gets during this time of the year, and just trying to be present for others is super hard. Just because you're in it, you're just working. The 12-hour days now become 16, 17. Luckily we work for a restaurant group that we are closed on Christmas, but we were open on Thanksgiving. We're open on New Year's Eve. And so those kinds of quote unquote celebrations that you would normally have with your family on that day generally get moved to another day.
Correct. One of our managers I know celebrates Christmas with her family the weekend before.
Correct. Yeah. And then New Year's Eve, we're pretty much all gangbusters. So we don't really celebrate that. Although I don't ever then I need to have celebrated New Year's Eve, right? We're there.
I'm good. New Year's Eve is not my.
We don't really need as in the industry, I will probably say we don't need a general date to decide that we're going to go drinking.
Very true. So, it's usually Tuesday.
It's not Tuesday, but we generally just decide, and I think we are just from where we're at in life, we're not the type of people that now go out and drink on a weekly basis.
No,
It can't.
I don't have the energy to.
Yeah. And also
You know?
hangovers suck.
Yeah,
Like 2 beers and I'm good for the night.
that's false.
I have been known to drink 1 beer and be good for the night.
Yeah, you like weirdly nurse it, but
I
like
do nurse it.
come on, dude, 2 beers, like it's bad luck.
Is it bad? You got to do an odds? I didn't know this was a thing.
It's just bad luck.
I didn't know this was a thing that you needed to drink. And,
Or when you just have a beer, you know what I mean?
yeah, but I've also done that where I just drink a beer the whole night. I'm pretty good at nursing it.
It's all warm. It's
It's
gross.
not warm at that point. I mean, it's just tepid.
It's a warm High Life. Come on.
No, High Life, I generally don't. I usually can finish that pretty quickly because it is, especially if they're crisp.
Just a crisp.
But a
High
cider,
Life.
I can nurse that for most of the day. But then, to be fair, though, during that nursing,
No, then you get like sugar mouth. You know what I mean?
yeah. But I like cider. You don't.
I like cider.
I like
but
really sweet
that-
ciders.
Oh God,
I like a Crispin.
I know.
That's my favorite. But to be fair, during that day of nursing or that evening of nursing that cider, we've had how many shots of Fernet at that point? Like 4 or 5.
Maybe.
Yeah. I'm not judging. I'm just saying. So
What is it? We don't judge. We don't. What's that trend going around?
we don't judge. We listen.
There it is.
But you don't even listen to me, so that's not even valid. So I don't agree with this.
Oh God.
But I think work-life balance is something that we both probably should work on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I wanted to talk about some trends or some New Year's resolutions that I think people in the hospitality industry, like for restaurants, they're really winging this episode. So there we go.
Yeah, we got to bring up our energy levels a little bit.
More so you had a long evening.
I had a long evening, and it wasn't a long evening of drinking. It was just a long evening.
I can usually tell, like, you texted me this morning and you were like, what time did we say? And you said, did I say 10? I said, you said 9, but if you need 10,
I needed 10. I needed an extra half hour.
We can get that for you.
I needed an extra half hour.
Did you go right back to sleep?
I just kind of laid there, but I just
contemplating life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. So in terms of, and we do this as a company, in terms of, we look at our restaurant group on a yearly basis.
Mm-hmm.
So we've written our budgets, and then we kind of roadmap the whole year, which I think is important. If you're trying to set goals and if you're trying to get whatever the end result is, hopefully the end result is not closing, right? That's just
God willing.
But where I am now, where I want to be, whether that's I want to increase and make them tangible. So I think creating goals, and we use this program called EOS, and they talk about using SMART goals. So something that's specific, measurable, attainable, relative, and timely. That's what SMART stands for. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty awake for this hour.
Great job.
And so being specific in the goals. So like we want to increase cover counts by 15%.
Mm-hmm.
Not just we want to increase cover counts. That's very ambiguous, that second one. So really creating a specific measurable goal, I think, is important. But what we do as a group is we take that, it could be a broad goal. Like we want to see revenue increase by 25%. It's obviously a very high number. But how do we get to that? And then we break it down quarterly. And so each month or each quarter, we're creating specific rock goals to push and drive that business to where we want it to be. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think that if you look, I did SMART goals and things like that, and growing up and going to school, like we would have to do them. I learned about it, like I think in middle school or high school.
Right.
So it wasn't a new concept when we started doing them,
right.
At work. I think that I think that it's necessary to set these goals, and I think that it's not. I like the SMART goal premise and the format. It's just sometimes, myself included, make too big of goals.
It's too broad.
It's not as broad.
It's just
massive, and it's not timely.
Correct.
I don't hit that T.
You do
know
not.
What I mean?
No, generally you don't. Generally, my team does not.
No, we're like, we do. Oh, we're going to increase by 25%, and then,
right. But we have gotten better. Like we spent a lot of the end of the year talking about or meeting with vendors, renegotiating contracts. So that was, I think that was good for you guys to see. I've been doing it for a couple of years now, but I got you guys involved this year. And while you guys really didn't speak much, Not because I didn't let them, just because I don't think
He
they really
told us to shut up. He said, "Shut up and
did
listen."
not. But I don't think really you guys had. I think it was something new for you all.
It was also like not everybody needed to speak.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is fine.
And so I was doing most of the negotiating on the contracts. So that was something that I thought was again planning for 2025. What do we want to do with vendors? What do we want to do with activations? Really planning out what our year looks like, because we have a busy year coming up. It's here.
Welcome
to 2025. We have 2 new projects that I know of, probably like 9 or 10 that I'm not aware of yet.
They're just going to pop up.
They're going to pop up, but they haven't been announced yet. So when they get announced, then we can talk about them on the podcast. But so really road mapping that year. So I think SMART goals. I think if anybody in the industry, whether it's professionally or personal, create the goals of what you want to attain. Like I know there's things that I want to attain this year personally. So now it's just setting up those goals to achieve them in a time.
2% body fat.
No, no. Number one, I would never like being healthy. Sure, but like I'm not a bodybuilder, nor do I ever foresee myself doing that. So, oh God, I just want to be able to get out of bed and my knees not crack.
Preach, brother, preach. Or you do that thing where you got to like hit your thighs and like get up.
I don't do that.
No,
okay.
I don't. Oh yeah, you're not from the Midwest.
I'm not from the Midwest. Is that a thing out here?
Yeah, it's like the welt, like that thing.
No, I just wake up. When I open up my eyes, that's when I say it to myself. Well, here we are. I woke up. It's a Monday. So yeah, I think another thing too, going into 2025 for us is that we're doing kind of a little bit of not a rebrand, but a renaissance, as they say, of one of our concepts.
Yeah, I mean, we're just shaking things up. I mean, obviously, guys, the hospitality industry has been affected by
decimated
a little bit, just crumbled.
Yeah,
from the pandemic and the economy and where the world is at. We've just really struggled.
I don't know what politician said this, but when they were debating, this was years ago, he was like, "It's the economy, stupid." I don't know. It was one of the politicians. He got into it about the economy, in which we're dealing with. Like everybody, like I mentioned to you last week, a couple of weeks ago, I was saying how I live alone, but when I go to grocery shop, like I only grocery shop once every 2 weeks because I usually bulk up and then I'll meal prep. But I was like, damn, I spent $200 for 2 weeks, but you spend that a week sometimes, depending on what you're getting, and you don't eat. Not that you don't eat. You guys don't eat a lot of like red meat, and neither do I.
Yeah, like at home, we're not eating steaks and things like that.
Right. But even like a dozen eggs, $7.
What kind of eggs you buying?
Just the regular eggs. I don't even buy organic or cage free. Like I'll just take the eggs. Like I'm not like Jewel had them I went yesterday. Jewel had a dozen eggs for.
Well, it's because of the bird flu situation.
What bird flu? Now there's and that's the thing that pisses me off. Anytime there's like something that's like it's already bad enough, and now there's some kind of this, and then there's some kind of disease, and then the locust came, and then Moses parted the river, and it's like every time there's something going on in the world.
Oh my God!
I'm just saying, like it's now it's the bird flu.
Hey man, I don't make the
next
rules.
week it'll be the swine flu.
I don't. Yeah. Oh my God!
So there's going to be year. Then we can't have pork. So like, we went on a tangent, and I forgot what we were talking about in the goals. But
we were talking about goals and how you spent too much money on your eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
we talked about the renaissance of one of the concepts. Now I remember.
But like, I think that as a whole, we are going through a renaissance right now because we're learning how to operate our businesses in a very, very different way.
Correct. For those, you're sorry.
My dad sometimes says, "Oh, I used to do things like this." Like, well, that's great, babe. It's not 1988. Like,
when did they open their first restaurant? Had to have been in the 90s, right?
Shit.
Were all the siblings born?
No.
So then it may have been in the 80s.
It was in the 80s. My dad had a bar.
80s, and for those wondering, 90s, since Christo is Greek, yes, they owned a diner at one point.
At one point, yes.
It's like the rite of passage.
Yeah. Then we sold that. I was 6.
How long have they had Poor Boys?
15 years.
So that's been a majority of your growing up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I got my start.
You can't do things like you used to do. Like I remember when I first started with the group, I was buying butter, and it was $89 a case for 36 pounds. And that was pricey. because it was a specific type of butter I was getting. Like butter now is like 150, 140. So when people are always like, "Oh, why is this so expensive?" Like back when we were coming up, food cost was your biggest expense.
Mm-hmm.
It is not anymore. Now you have your sales, and then the next thing that is your biggest cost is labor, which is usually running you, sometimes like 40%.
Yeah, I mean, there's no longer that 30, 30, 30. Like that's gone.
Yeah,
That's gone.
they used to have this saying that you'd make your money in restaurants on nickels and dimes. Now it's like quarter of pennies.
Mm-hmm.
Like is that like is it never? And I'm not, and I believe people should be getting a livable wage, but I can assure you that in our restaurant group, no one is making minimum wage. They're all making more than that.
Yes,
Minimum wage doesn't exist anymore for us.
Nope.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I remember when I was a dishwasher, I was making minimum wage, and I was making $5.75 a long time ago. But with that flip in terms of us paying even, entry level $18, $19 an hour, there is a cost associated with that to guests. And I don't think the guests realize that. Like and I'm not trying to get political, but I think everybody's always like, we want this, and everyone should be entitled to this, and more power to us. However, there's a cost associated with that. And so as a company, we provide a lot of benefits to our employees. We provide healthcare, vision, dental. We offer 401k. We offer a very livable wage. We give all the things that we should. However, then don't come and ask us why our burger is $28. Then don't ask me why my cupcake is $6. Right? You can't have it both ways, I don't think. And I think sometimes people forget about that.
Yeah, it's a rough time right now, especially in Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicago really just got hit.
Well, I think Chicago, it's two things. Number one, the pandemic really hit people.
That's what I'm saying.
But secondly, and again, not to get political, the amount of bullshit that we have to go through on a daily basis in terms of what goes on out of our control, this tax, that tax, this is going up, that's going down. Like if people were to do a legitimate study of why restaurants fail, yes, some of it has to do with the economy, and I think that's important. But a lot of it has to do with the regulations that we have to go through. I don't think people realize all the bullshit that you have to do in the back end.
No, I mean, you need a permit to put an A-frame outside to say that you have happy hour.
Correct.
You technically need to have, you need to have a permit.
You need to have a permit for that. You need to have a permit for any of the chairs that you put out there. You need to have a permit for signage, like that's hanging. And then these things are not necessarily, they're not, you buy it once and you're done. You're buying this every year.
Yep. Sometimes you only have a 6-month.
Correct. And you have to remember, and let's not kid you that they are not out there when they know exactly when your permit is up, waiting to give you a ticket.
Correct.
Because that exactly happens. And again, I'm not trying to get political, but this is the reality of where we live.
Yeah.
Is that
it's rough. I mean, we don't, and I'm not trying to be like, woe is me, but like, we don't get a break.
No.
And everybody knows in the industry, like, this is just kind of what it is, and that's why all of us are a little jaded, and all of us have a little chip on our shoulder, because everything is against us to succeed. Sure. I hate to say it, between food, labor, permits, it's everything is designed. It's not designed, but it's
more challenging.
It's more challenging. For us to succeed.
Yeah. Which goes back to the original point. I'm sorry we got on the tangent there, was about how we've been around for a long time. The restaurant group is now 17 years old. Mm-hmm. And so we're doing a little bit of a refresh on some of our concepts because it's time. Because I think that if you don't change with the times, you become stagnant and then you become irrelevant. So that's one thing that I think as not a New Year's resolution, but something for 2025 people should consider is like, are you innovating? Are you creating? Are you keeping guests engaged in your concepts?
Yeah, there's so many options now for the consumer, and because things are so expensive, people aren't going out as much. Yeah, because they're
going out once every 2 weeks, once a month, where they were going out once a week,
or where they were going out and spending $100. Yeah. Right, they're spending $60.
Well, that too. One trend that we have seen is liquor, beer, wine sales. Right, those plummeting across the industry. And for those that don't know, that's where you really make your money, right? Because there is minimal labor. If you're not having a mixed drink, right, or you're not having a cocktail, if you're just having a beer or a glass of wine, or something on the rocks where it's a quick pour, that's where you had your highest margins and your lowest labor, because I'm really just popping a beer. But people are not even drinking anymore. And then we go into January, which is usually people are all dry and people are contemplating life. When it's amazing, January 1st, everyone contemplates their life and everyone's like, I'm going to be the best new version of me, which
I think that's why I don't set these New Year's resolutions.
Because of that. I will tell you, the gym is packed to the first 2 weeks of the year.
Slammed.
And then after that, it immediately flops and there's no one around. But that's why we're doing a little bit of we're calling it a renaissance in our group, but a little renaissance of one of the concepts. So I think that's a trend that people, or again, just assessing where your business is at. And if you're making these goals, does my concept need to change? And we're not saying like a complete rebrand, because that doesn't do anybody any good either. But more so, how do I keep guests and clientele engaged throughout the new year? Yeah. So I think another area of opportunity for 2025 for a lot of people, ourselves included, is marketing. I feel like 2024, I don't know, maybe I was paying attention to it more this year just because of the show I was on, and there was a bunch of more social media that I had to do. But I feel like 2024 was like the year of like influencers and like people on TikTok blowing up and people on Instagram blowing up. What's your take on that?
I think that it was.
Was it a pandemic thing?
No, I think that you were paying attention to it more because you had to.
Yeah.
But there's people that blow up and go viral and different things.
Sure, but I feel like people now, I feel like a lot more people have made, number one, they've made it their career.
Yeah.
And one thing that I think we do an okay job at it, I think, here's the thing, I think we have a lot going on. So to ask, back up. I think that rewind. I think that we do a okay job at it in terms of what we do. I think you and I could be better at social media. Miko, who was my partner on the show, is very good on social media. Mm-hmm. He's got 30 something thousand followers. And meanwhile, I finally got up. I'm almost at 5.
Look at you.
And he was commenting to me you just need to post more regularly. And so I struggle with that because number one, the time. Number two, I also don't want to be that person that's posting on social every day. I feel like I feel like I'm the person that unfollows that person, and maybe I'm just thinking of it that way. And maybe people actually want to see a post every day. I'm thinking more for personally.
People just want to see shit,
right? And
people scroll on their phones.
Yeah,
right. They're at work.
Sure, should be working.
Yes, people are at work scrolling on their phones. They're taking a dump, scrolling on their phones. Right. All right, everybody, wipe down your phone.
You've never been the type of person.
Okay, wipe down your phone.
You've never been the person that's been like, oh, this person posts so much, and I'm just going to unfollow them. You've never encountered that.
No.
Okay.
I mean,
because in this new venture that I'm doing, I'm going to be posting pretty regularly. For those that don't know, I'm beginning a. I don't know if you'd call it, it's not a web series, but a social series where I will be on TikTok for however long that lasts.
A couple weeks.
And then Instagram. I got a bunch of comments from the show that were like, hey, have you ever thought about doing recipes? And I didn't ever really thought people were so in tune, people were so interested in it, because I do it every day, right? I make croissants every day. So I'm starting from home a new social platform series where I'll be baking things at home. And so I will be posting more regularly, but it's also I'm going to do baking. I'm going to do some savory items, going to lean into some Portuguese things. I'm going to have, you and I want to cook with you and I for this podcast. So I think just as a goal for ourselves is being more in tune with social media. People watch stupid shit all the time. And I feel like we have things that are entertaining to watch. And I think people love to watch people that are cooking. I don't know what it is. Watching
We're fucking cool, dude. We've been cool for so long.
Yeah, well,
right?
but watching bread rise.
I'm not saying me and you.
Okay.
I'm
maybe
saying
not you.
The chef.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think TV made chefs popular.
But at the same time, it's always been
us. Nothing has changed. I think what people don't realize is that the people the Gordon Ramsays of the world, the people that have really pushed that awareness, and Food Network and things like that. There's the TV side of people, and then there's what really goes on. And I know with the pandemic, we've had to dial it back a little bit in terms of, making sure that we're not causing people to cry on a daily basis. But I didn't realize how intrigued people were with what we do on a daily basis. Like when we were off the show, the amount of comments we got about, the things that we were making and the DMs that I would get about, hey, do you share recipes? And so I was talking to Miko, and I've been talking to you about it. And Miko was like, it's a good idea. And then Miko was like, are you going to charge for them? And I said, I don't necessarily feel comfortable charging for recipes. So I'm working on also a website that all the recipes will be up there. I don't know. What are your thoughts on like charge? Like he was like, have people subscribe and then you can charge them like 99 cents a month. And I'm just like, just give the knowledge to them. If someone is engaged enough to follow me and actually is interested in what I'm doing, why am I going to make a buck off of it? And I guess I'm saying that now because I'm a nobody. Maybe if I had like 1 million followers, I would probably change things up a little bit, but I don't know.
I mean, I think it's just,
what does it cost me to create a recipe that I share with people that I work with on a daily basis?
It's once again, I get both sides of things.
Sure.
Because you don't want to like nickel and dime people, and you don't want to be like, yeah, it's my cookie recipe. Okay,
sure.
Here you go.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of like coming to a restaurant and not paying. If you think about it that way, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of under the same
I just think
belief.
I think it creates, I think by not charging, and I'm curious to hear what people say. Like as I get into this venture, or as we get into this venture for the podcast, is we're going to be doing both for myself, and we're going to be doing some cooking, you and I, at my house. Should we be charging for recipes? I'd be curious what people think. So if we post this, I'm sure this will be part of
There's
one of
also
the clips.
a world where you charge for some and not others.
Sure, but I'd be curious to see if people are actually engaged in paying for that. Like, are you actually going to get anything out of it? And so throwing that out there to the world, what the people think. But yeah, I think social media is a big thing that we need to work on for 2025. And I think a lot of places could work on that. I mean, there's places that are like spot on where they're social. Like
there's some restaurants
Noma,
where they're, I mean,
legendary. The
great.
French Laundry, legendary.
Fantastic marketing.
Yeah. 11 Madison. Like even like schools, like, and I know we always joke when we bring up the CIA, but like I don't follow Kendall, and it's not to get them. I just don't follow them, so I don't really know their social presence. But like the CIA, very good at their marketing, because that's in essence, it's a tool, right? How do I get people to come into my restaurant? How do I get people to be engaged with what I'm doing? And so I think if your marketing is dull, people just assume you to be dull.
Yes, but I think that, like you said, how there's the social media, like there's the social media chef or the person, and then there's a person in real life.
Sure.
At a certain point, like, then you're just lying to people.
Well, sure, but I mean, to be fair, like and you guys saw it when I was on TV. Like who I am on TV is who I am in real life.
Yeah,
I'm a pretty stern individual. Like I like to have fun, but I'm very serious in the kitchen. So this will be a new version of it because I am much more relaxed when I'm in my home cooking. So that's just who I am as well. But like, I don't know. I think for the most part, when you see those social clips about 11 Madison and Noma, I think what you see is what you get.
Yeah, they're pretty spot on. I mean, here's the thing. I've been to the laundry.
Yeah.
That's it.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's other restaurants and, where their marketing is just so good that it forces you to go.
And then you get there and it's just a letdown.
And it's just shit.
Sure.
Like, I shouldn't say shit. It's just kind of like
the expectation was so high.
It was just marketing.
Yeah. So then that's the thing too on the marketing side is that if you're going to have stellar marketing, you got to back it up. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't back it up, you're just getting guests to come in and then never come back, which we have encountered. Like we've been to places.
Usually those places that have really, really good marketing
are packed. Yeah,
but they're just like cool to be at. So then people just want to take pictures and they can post it on their social, and it's just this chain reaction of things.
Sure, yeah.
There's very, I don't know of too many people anymore that are regulars. Personally,
yeah, I would say. I mean, I think a place like Poor Boys, has regulars.
It's regulars.
I think a place like one of the concepts that we have, Kindling, which is in the Loop. I think they have regulars because it's a lunch. It's open for lunch and dinner, but the lunch crowd is very like business focused, and so you have the people that come there pretty regularly. So, I think it depends on the concept. I think that years ago, I remember when I was growing up, we always went to the same restaurant every Thursday. That was like, it was actually every other Thursday. We would go to the same restaurant. And so I think that trend maybe has died a little bit, because I remember when I first started with the group, we'd always have the same families that would come in. And granted, that's, over a decade ago. So those kids are in college now. God, I feel old. So yeah, I think that you do lose a little bit of that. I think there are so many options. Like by the bakery, they're the only, there's like 4 or 5 bars, but like there's like 3 anchors. And so like those are the 3 bars that are the busiest, and everyone else is kind of a little bit less. So, that's kind of, yeah. So another thing that we're going to be doing for 2025 for a group, which I think is good and bad, is that we're kind of going back to, we like to call them old school systems. I know you love.
You're over here. We're talking about a renaissance, and you're talking about going back to the old school. Like, let's.
Well, I think it's an old school mixed with a new school.
Yeah, I think that we tried some new things over the past few years, and realized that some things didn't work.
Right. I think there was a couple of benefits and a couple of pitfalls. I think having access to information on our phones, great. What I think it did do, and I think a majority of the people would agree with me, is it didn't. We grew up in a time in the industry and in this restaurant group where we were big on how to become an operator. So, Scott and Greg were always very much like, hey, if you ever leave, we just want to make sure that if you leave, that you know how to run a business, right? Like if people are going to leave and it's inevitable, like we want you to go on to do bigger and better things. And so they were always pretty adamant about us becoming operators. Like, yes, you're a chef. And that's how we trained our teams. Like my sous chefs, yes, they were learning something in terms of pastry or in terms of savory, but they were also learning about the numbers. Like this plastic cup costs 15 cents. Quit using it.
Well, that's the thing, is going back to knowing exactly what everything costs.
Sure.
And like you said before, it's a business of pennies.
Correct.
And that's where you make your money.
Yep.
Yeah. You kind of lose sight of some of that if you are not
dealing with the numbers on
correct, or like actually physically having to write that number down, not just somebody like a computer telling you what your sales were or what your cover count was or whatever. But
so I think that's a good thing, is that being able to understand, like sometimes going back to things that worked for you, even though they may not be technology based. I think it's also to reflect on, if something worked for you 5 years ago and it's still relevant, what's stopping you from going back to that?
Yeah, my dad recently just got a POS. Recently, it's probably like in the last 5 years, they finally got a POS system.
Or were they just doing like the old?
Yeah.
Wow.
And because when I told my dad, why don't you get a POS system?
Right.
And this is a direct quote, I am the POS system, is what he said.
John Vlahos.
It worked for him for so long, and then finally,
because what are they on, Toast?
They were going to go with Toast, and they're on something else. But it's another cloud-based.
Sure, yeah. Well, everything is cloud-based now. Like even like the Microses and the NCRs. Yeah. You're hardwired still, but you can do with a cloud base.
He just didn't, because of the type of business that it is, he didn't need the robust Toast or Micros or Aloha. So it's something else. I can't remember exactly.
He needs something that he can throw on an iPad.
Yeah.
And basically pay that way.
Basically, that's it.
Yeah.
So, I think that going into this year, we need to adapt as an industry, and kind of take back maybe some of the old things that we used to do, and then really just some of the things that just did not work. Just
I think that's also a fear too, is that idea of change. I know that when I talk about things with certain people, certain of my colleagues, who shall remain nameless on this podcast, you make it
name them.
No,
name them.
No, you make a suggestion, and it's literally like you're asking for a firstborn. Like, this isn't going to work. Like, you don't know if it's not going to work. Like, to a certain extent, you got to throw things at the wall and see if they stick. And I'm not to say you do that with everything, because if you have your staples and things are working, like, don't change it. There is the analogy of like KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And so if it's working, don't change it. But if you need to change it, like, change it. What's the worst that happens? If you're already seeing that not downward, but if you're already seeing that needs to be a change, and you change and it doesn't work, then you can pivot. Right. I think people are always afraid of the pivot. Like, what happens? Nothing happens. It's okay. The world will continue. We are not performing brain surgery.
That's funny that you do bring that up because sometimes we do things and we're like, everyone's going to know. Everybody, literally nobody's going to know. They're not going to know. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing. No one cares enough.
No. Like nobody's really going to know.
Yeah.
Unless you say something fucked up online, like nobody's really going to know.
Although I will say that like I'm pretty brand loyal not brand, but I'm pretty specific when it comes to certain ingredients. Like for me, like it has to be 83% butter for the croissants, and it's more expensive.
Yeah.
But then people always like, well, just go to the other. And I'm like, no, that's not going to work.
No.
But like if I go from cage-free eggs to organic eggs to regular eggs, like no one's going to know.
They're not.
And I'm not saying, and if that is such an important factor for you, don't change it, right? Like if you are really adamant about the cage-free and you're really adamant about the organic, don't change it. But in a world in which, as long as you're getting them from a reputable place, eggs are eggs, right? This organic, and don't even get me started on the organic movement or the local movement. Now that local is anything that touches the 4 states that you're in, it's not even an organic. Organic just means now they don't use as much pesticides. That's what it means.
You can still use some. Yes.
You can still use some. So this whole like faux pas of charging me $12 for eggs, like you can fucking take your eggs and shove them.
We got to talk about where you're getting your eggs from.
I would like anybody go to the grocery store today or this week, go look at the egg price. It's like $6.99 for a dozen.
I have to go to the grocery store today. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah. Let me know how much the eggs are.
Okay.
Butter is like $4 a pound.
Yeah, but that's always been like that.
Even like almond milk. I remember when it was like $2.99 because I drank almond milk for the half gallon. Now it's like $3.99.
Yeah.
$4.25.
I mean, I get that part.
Oh, but you can't understand the egg concept.
No, but like, where are you getting eggs from for $7?
I'm getting the eggs from the carton. I'm assuming the grocery store is getting it from the chicken, and the chicken, it's coming from its ass. So that's
Great.
where the egg comes from.
Great. Maybe I actually saw a clip of a.
No one needs to see that. Do not post that.
I'm not posting it.
That's not how you get social followers.
But it was disgusting, and I was like, "This is gross."
Yeah, I don't think people realize where eggs come from.
It's a chicken's ass.
It is. Yeah,
it's
and a chicken can make 1 egg a day,
which is wild when you think about it.
That it can make it so quickly.
Yeah, like it's insane.
But that's why they're $6 a dozen or $7 a dozen. Think about, you need 12 chickens to make that dozen egg.
That's quick math. Look at you.
I know. You like that? Well, on that note, this was kind of a renaissance for us today.
Yeah, we're just. I'd like to do a little recap of today's episode because you tangented a lot. We had a whole plan going into.
Well, this was about like 2025, like some trends, some new things. Really, just kind of start off the new year. We know what we're working on. It was kind of just like a reset.
Yeah, we just need to.
Nope.
Someone's dying.
Oh God, I hope not.
We just, as an industry, we need a reset. We need to figure out really what worked for us the past couple of years, and then
not a lot did.
Not a lot did.
No,
but we need to go back to, I think, true hospitality.
Yep.
We need to go back to
good food,
just doing good food, like going back to basics on things, because I think that we went so far to try to be relevant that people almost forgot how to cook, and then people also forgot how.
That's why they watch the social videos.
There you go. And that's why, and then people like actually go into a restaurant, like the service has just been bad.
Yeah.
And it's because we're also training the next.
You know what's not bad though? I will say this, and this was consistent throughout, and then we'll wrap it up. This was consistent throughout the entire pandemic, and now dive bars, fantastic hospitality still.
Yeah.
Like there was never been a dive bar that I've been to in the past 4 or 5 years that I was like, oh, I feel uncomfortable. Even when we commented about it, we'd go somewhere, we just like felt genuine, like they actually appreciated the $5 that we were giving them.
Yep.
Whether it was here, whether it was in New York, whether it was in London when I was there, I'm sure you experienced it when you went to Greece, and I'm not sure you went to dive places, but just the people appreciated.
Did I?
The dollar that
I went to a couple.
So you understand, like people just appreciated the, for my $5, it was what I like. It was good service, good hospitality. I felt cared for, and the high life was crisp. That's all you can ask for nowadays.
It's just a crisp high life.
Yeah, we like a good high life in Fernet. So, be curious to see what anyone else.
Seriously, somebody's dying out there.
Yeah, well, better them than me.
Sorry, everybody, about today.
Yeah, but I would like to hear also, in addition to, I don't know what we asked for originally, but. The drink of choice if you're going out. Are you a high life in Fernet? Do people still drink Fernet besides us? Is it a Chicago thing? I know it's a New York thing.
It's an industry thing.
I don't know if it's I think it's industry. We think of it as industry, but I'm curious if people that are listening that are actually other people in the industry also drink High Life and Fernet. So comment. Let us know. You want to wrap us up?
Yeah, we can do that. Well, guys, thank you guys very much. Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New Year.
This has been the Chef May I Call podcast.
Allegedly.
Oh my gosh, I'm dying over here. You can follow us on Chef May I Call podcast on all the socials, and then Chef May I Call podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah, one last thing. If we do some cooking videos
This
on
guy, like, bro, we're wrapping it. This guy, it's been
good,
you all
I'm
day
trying,
today.
I'm
All
trying
day today,
to
babe.
get us more. If we are doing some cooking videos, we want to know what people want to see. Like, do you want to see Portuguese food, Greek food, a combo? You want to see baking? What do you want to see? You want to see some tips and tricks? How to sharpen a knife? Let us know. We want people to be engaged. Otherwise, it's just me and you talking to ourselves for the rest of our lives, and I can't imagine that being an existence of mine.
It's a reality.
That's unfortunate.
Right now, it's a reality.
I talk about you in therapy.
But you fucking do. All right, guys.
All right,
thank you very much. Ooh, jinx.
You like that? Bye.